our craft, the way students are actually adopting new ways of engagement, etc. And we've noticed opportunities and challenges. How can we actually work through this in a way that we can harness some of these opportunities to take forward in post-COVID in schooling and in education? So rather than just do a simple PMI at a staff meeting or a get-together, etc., we worked with a number of people around the world to develop this, this tool, and we're having quite a bit of success with it.
Yeah, so we've been operating this workshop across our schools and some other organisations that have been interested as well. And I'm just going to share my screen with you. So what we do in the workshop, it goes for about 2 hours, and we take people on a journey from really unpacking, identifying and unpacking their current reality. So how are they currently operating? And then actually taking them through a process where they have a chance to dream about their preferred future and actually identify what they want that to look like. And we use the design thinking process to do that, but we focus really heavily on just the first 3 stages of the design thinking process. So the empathize, define, and ideate. And that's what we do in the first 2 hours. And then there's a whole journey of working with the school or organisation beyond that 2 hours to actually go through a prototyping and testing phase for the projects that they identify in the workshop.
So this project and R2P, or Reflect to Pivot, has really helped us gauge and get a lot of insight across a lot of schools through the many workshops and engaging with the many staff that we have. It is supported by a design thinking process, which has enabled us not to just gather data from individual schools, but now to actually see right across a large number of schools across the eastern seaboard of Australia. And that's been a big learning for us along the way, which we're just actually starting to put together now.
Yeah, it's been really interesting throughout the workshop. A team that's going through the workshop will focus on and really unpack their reflections in terms of those 8 themes that you can see on the screen there. So it's been really interesting for us to start to compile some of that data and look at, okay, so the schools that we're working with, where are their projects falling out under what themes and why might that be? It's been, I think, logical that during this time, particularly as we have worked with a number of schools who've been going through remote learning, it's really logical, I think, that a lot of focus has been on engagement and reinvention. And it's been really interesting also that no schools yet have picked up a project on play, adventure, or achievement, but we're kind of quite excited about the achievement one being at 0, because we're hoping that what that means is that the schools are really focused on the process of learning rather than the outcome of learning. So we see that as, yeah, a really interesting outcome that has come out of it.
And we'll unpack those with some Q&A at the end. So obviously some people might have some Q&A or might be able to share similar situations that they've been in, whether it's in a school or whether it's something related to school as an innovator, etc., like that they've seen throughout it. In this next activity, we're going to share with you a part of an activity that we do during the workshop. The idea tonight was to walk you through this process, and it's not going to mimic the process that we go through with the 2-hour workshop because that's really contextualised around an organisation, doing it as a group in an organisation, whether it be a school or an industry. However, we can actually touch on many components and the concepts and principles that we work through in terms of design thinking. This next one, I'm going to ask you, and one of the things we do is we get people to really plot themselves where they see themselves in terms of accepting or looking at the future or positioning themselves with a growth mindset. And it's just a link I'm going to put into the chat screen. And what I'd like you to do is to just jump on this. It's just a brainstorming grid. But when I put this little link in your chat screen, like you click on that, it might just ask you for an email. It's just you can put anything in, an email, and it just logs you onto the page. I'm going to ask you just to click anywhere on that page where you think you see where you fit. And it can be from a global view. It doesn't have to be from a school view, because some of us here aren't from school. Some of us are innovators. Some of us are entrepreneurs. Some of us are working as part of HundrED, etc. But plot yourself where you think you lie.
So to do that, you simply click on the screen somewhere and then tap your name. Then you can move it around to wherever it fits.
Sorry, quickly, should we type our name?
Yeah.
Yeah, just your name. Yeah, just that's fine.
There's a few people who haven't joined the map yet. Is anyone having trouble with jumping on and need some help? Matt, would you mind unmuting yourself? I'm going to put you on the spot here. Are you happy to share why you're sitting where you are?
Sorry, that was me, Kim?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think, I mean, during times like this at the moment, it's really easy to sort of slunk into that, you know, everything's really going bad and, you know, there's nothing that you can actually individually do. But I think, you know, if you take one day at a time and you sort of think through that this is just a temporary glitch in the road, and you sort of think through to what it was pre this, and sort of we're still in that same trajectory, I still remain really optimistic about the future. And, you know, working in the space that I do with technology education, I feel like I can really shape the future as well. I mean, that's why I put myself there. I'm always not sort of up and to the right completely, because there's always a little bit of hesitation of sort of what it may hold in the future, but generally, yeah, really excited about what's to come.
Great, thanks, Matt.
Right,
So
Matt.
I think what you described there is one of the reasons that we do this. We do this to kind of this mindset reset, is because there is so much rhetoric out there at the moment around, you know, and so much negative news, I guess, that we're confronted with all the time. So it's really nice to kind of put on that really deliberate thinking about our mindset, and think about, you know, actually take a moment to think about how we actually feel about the future and where we're sitting. And what we find when we use this tool in the workshop is that predominantly most people fall within that top right hand quadrant, and they can always give really good reasons for why that is the case. Equally, when they don't sit in that right hand quadrant, they've got logical reasons for that as well.
I guess with schools, we find a lot of teachers, particularly during this time, have actually landed in that right quadrant, particularly as they've developed or been forced to develop that growth mindset. But naturally, being in the industry of education and as closer to the ground as possible as teachers on the ground, a lot of teachers are, you know, have naturally positioned themselves there because they're dealing with young children all the time.
So the next part of our workshop, we take people through an empathy exercise. And empathy being the first step of design thinking, it's really important to, if you're going to go about tackling a problem or solving a problem, that you actually figure out what the right problem is to solve. So the way that we do that in the workshop is Derek and I conducted a whole range of interviews.
We might just jump back into the Zoom if you're not already there. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Just jump back onto the Zoom screen for now. Yeah.
So Derek and I conducted a whole heap of interviews with students and staff and parents, and we asked them questions like, what's been challenging during this time? What have you enjoyed during this time? You know, have there been any unexpected joys or blessings that have come about from being, you know, doing remote learning or being in lockdown? And we asked them to think about, is there anything that you actually would like to become part of a new normal moving forward. So we ask them those questions and we've compiled the answers, and we get participants in the workshops to watch a YouTube clip that actually gives a whole range of perspectives. But what we're going to do tonight is give you a little challenge. I'm going to put you into a breakout room with one other person. And when you get there, decide who's going to go first. And we want whoever volunteers to go first. We want you're each going to do it, so you'll each get a turn. We want you to just tell a quick 1-minute story about some aspect of this whole pandemic situation this year that has been really significant to you, and you think is a story that you'll continue to tell for a long time to come after this is all over. So just a 1-minute story about a really significant something, a significant story about what COVID has meant to you or how you've experienced it. So I'm going to pop you into breakout rooms. What we'll do is, so I'll leave you in there only for about 2 minutes. So I'll give you a minute to sort yourselves out, 1 minute to tell the story. If you're not telling the story, really important that you're watching the person's face. So I'll get you to turn your videos on if you possibly can. Watch the person's face and really listen to what they're saying, but don't ask any questions, don't comment. Make sure you don't make any sounds. Often we're really tempted when we're listening to go, So try and remain really impassive and don't ask any questions. We're going to get you to come back. So we'll call you back out of the breakout room and then we'll tell you the next instruction. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay, we're all going to go into rooms. So you should get an invitation. I'm going to open those rooms now. So there should have been a pop-up on your screen that says join breakout room.
Yep, so we're going there.
Christian, have you got a pop-up on your screen?
Emmanuel, you should see a pop-up. This is join a breakout room. If not, go down to breakout rooms and it should tell you which room you're going to.
Derek, do you want to go to yours? Because otherwise there'll be someone there without
gotcha.
you. I didn't realize it was going to.
That's why I thought we could probably move someone there to 7. You can't move someone to 7?
I can't make them go.
Okay, hold on. Jump there.
Oh, one person's gone. Oh, Patricia's come back. Hi, Patricia.
Hi.
Have you just come back from your breakout room?
No.
Or have you just joined the meeting?
Yes, I just joined the meeting.
Okay, perfect. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. We're just doing a little activity in a breakout room.
Okay.
So I might just send you to one.
Okay.
I'm going to send you to breakout room 3 and Matt will be there and he'll explain what to do. So just let him know that you've just come in and he'll explain to you.
Okay.
So if you should have a little pop-up on your screen that says join breakout room. Great.
Hello. We're back.
Hi. Did you have time to tell your story?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, great. There are a few people that took a while to join, so we left you in there a bit longer.
That's good.
Did you guys have
Emma, you
time to
write-
tell your
put us-
story?
Yeah, we did. Well, we did. Yeah.
What were you going to say, Derek? Sorry.
Will you be able to put us back in the same room?
Yeah, I'm wondering that.
Yeah.
And if not,
Yeah,
if
I
not,
hope so.
it should. If it doesn't, we can. It's only a
Yeah.
small number to join up. Yeah.
Yep.
Must be a
So
few
there's
coming
a few
back.
people coming back. Any second now, they'll pop like popcorn on the screen.
Nice exercise.
There we go.
Hi all.
Okay, so thank you for doing that. Hopefully you all got a chance to tell your 1 minute story if it was your turn. What we're going to do is I'm going to get you to go back into the same room. And for the second part of this, whoever did not tell the story, so whoever was listening with empathy, you are going to have the chance to ask 1 or 2 clarifying questions. And then you need to tell that story back to the person as if you were them. So you're going to tell it. So if Derek told me a story, I would be telling the story back to Derek as if I was Derek. Okay, so you're telling it back in the first person. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mhm.
We can ask 2 clarifying questions, and then we need to then tell the story from in first person.
So you're going to pretend
Cool.
you are your partner and you're telling the story as if you're them. So I'm going to send you back to your breakout rooms to do that. Once you've done that, then you can, I'll leave you in there for about 3 or 4 minutes so that you can swap over and you can have a go and repeat the process. But this time, the other person will tell a story. And then if you told this first time, you'll listen and then repeat it back to them. Okay. I'll see you in a few minutes. You should get that.
Yep. I got the same room.
Great. Hey, Enos, how are you?
Thank you.
I'm going to send you to a breakout room with Derek, the
Can you hear
other.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm going to send you to a breakout room with Derek, and he'll explain what we're doing. So you should have an invitation on your screen now. If you go join breakout room. Have you got an invitation on your screen, a little pop-up that says join breakout room? Hey.
I got put in 7, which is the same one, but I'm with this guy who never had a partner before.
Yeah, he's just joined, and your partner
Oh.
has dropped out. Blessing. Something must have happened with her internet.
Oh, okay. So I'll just jump back with him. That's fine. Cool.
Yeah. Oh, good, you're back, Blessing. Glad to have you back, Blessing.
Thank you. Sorry, I think my network locked me out.
Yeah, it's okay. Everyone's going to be coming back from the breakout rooms in just a second.
So I'm Blessing from Nigeria. How about you, Kim?
So I'm Kim from Australia, from Melbourne.
Okay, are you part of 100 ambassadors?
Yes. Yeah. Are you also?
Okay. Well, yes, I just got in few days ago.
Okay. Wonderful. Welcome. All right. How did you all go? There's a couple of people possibly.
We ran out of time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that happens in some groups. How was it a different experience if you went first or if you went second? If you knew the purpose of listening? So for those of you who had to repeat back in first person when you didn't know that information in advance, did you find that more confronting, do you think, than the person who knew what they had to do?
Not necessarily.
And I think for me and Lasse, we ended up sharing both our stories in the first round. So
okay, yeah.
We didn't think about just one person would say. So
yeah.
it was fairly easy.
Yeah.
That happened in our group as well.
Yeah. So when you do this, it's a bit hard to do this in Zoom, but when you do this face to face, one of the things that people find is that it can be really confronting talking to someone who's not engaging with you in any way. You have this kind of silent, still audience that they're not doing their usual things to show you that they are listening. But also when you don't know that the expectation will be to then repeat that person's story and, you know, be able to understand it to the depth that you can tell it as if it was your own story, you may have missed some key details too in the listening process. So just realized, oh no, Derek, you are there. Oh good, you've all changed around on my screen.
Yeah. And that empathy, guys, when we do that, as Kim said, in the workshop, we deal with empathy differently based on gathering a lot of views from students, staff, people involved with education, parents, and it's a mashup of videos which people go and watch, and then they actually reflect on what they hear. One of the things in that particular empathy deep dive, which we've done with, which was sort of handed on through a number of different avenues, including from D-School, from Stanford, is that when you have to repeat it back in first person, and you know that you're going to do that, your listening skills are heightened to the detail of being able to understand where that person is coming from. And that's really empathy. And I guess that's something that we push out in terms of as a scaffold during the workshop. Yeah.
Really from the perspective of understanding your stakeholders, whoever they may be, what they're experiencing at the moment and what they see as the challenges and opportunities and the problems that need to be solved.
So, you know, in part of the workshop we do is we actually take people and teams through a process of unpacking their current reality and building a clear picture of what, you know, how their organisation is currently working. And tonight, a number of us come from different perspectives, schools, organisations, and, you know, but we have something in common. We have obviously the nature of HundrED in common. We have the nature of education in common. So reflecting on how it's been or how it is currently going, think about opportunities and challenges during this time in the context of education, through the role that you play in the world at the moment. What are some of the opportunities and challenges that you see at this current time that's going to affect education and has arisen due to the pandemic? And to do that, opportunities and challenges, I'm just going to put up another group map there in the chat screen. If you could click on there, it's going to take us to a 2-column. We're going to do opportunities and challenges, and just simply click in there and type away.
Yeah, we know that this year has been one like no other in education, and it has certainly brought up many challenges and many opportunities.
Where, how do I click?
Yeah, so if you click on the little plus sign there, it'll allow you to type in and then add an idea.
Oh, okay.
So,
I love that the opportunities side is filling up much faster than the challenges. It shows everyone's mindset.
Oh, okay. It is over here.
Minnie?
Just have a little look there, guys, at the opportunities and challenges. If you keep putting some in, if you wish. Does anyone want to call any out? It doesn't have to be ones that you wrote down, but is there any there in the opportunities or challenges you just wanted to highlight by maybe just unmuting yourselves? It might be one you like, or might be one that you resonate with, or you want some clarification on. Just maybe pick one.
Maybe it's one that's been unexpected for you.
I would say
One that
one
really
that
concerns you.
stands out
Sorry,
to me in
Ryan.
the opportunities that's here in a couple different ways is just kids learning to manage their learning, or self-directed learning, or just really being able to take control of what they're learning. And
Yeah, it's a biggie. It comes out a lot of the time. Yeah.
Huge opportunity for differentiation too, just through the act of everyone learning in their own homes and doing it in their own way.
And at their own time.
Yeah.
And pace.
That was certainly when we interviewed students. Didn't matter whether they were in the first year of school or the last year of school. Significant feedback from them, Patricia, was exactly that point, that opportunity to be able to find flow in their workday and not be constrained by the normal schedule or timetable, to be able to maintain a task.
Totally.
I noticed in the challenges, I'll call one out, there's a few people that have written at-risk students and special needs students, and yes, that's come out quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, especially
socialization.
Yeah, especially here in Finland, we had a big discussions about the students with the special needs or with the vulnerable homes. That kind of like the teachers lost access or lost the contact to few of them, and there might have been cases that the students have not been involved to any learning activities, even though the schools have been running in the distance learning mode, but that has been causing a big problems for them to kind of like get a contact with them and help them to go through the daily tasks and so forth.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been the same in Australia.
That's great, guys. Thanks for sharing that, some of your ideas there. And I see a lot of people reading through those and maybe even voting on those. The next part, over to you, Kim.
Yes. So for one of our last activities for tonight, we really wanted to give you a little bit of insight into how we help teams that are undertaking the workshop to dream about their preferred future. So a major part of the workshop is actually taking people on a journey, as I said right back at the beginning, where they identify what is working really well and what is not working well in the current reality that they are in, and then to actually think about what they have learnt during this year as they've been through all the different facets of the pandemic in their situation, what that has actually taught them. And for some people, that is about they want to embrace something new. And for others, it's been about actually reigniting the passion for a particular value or something that they've maybe taken for granted, and this is really exposed for them. So for an example, when Derek and I ran this workshop for my team, so there's about 10 of us that work in my office, one significant change that we came up with for our preferred future was that we all, or majority of us in our office, do a lot of traveling. So it's always been accepted that you may be in the office or you may not be in the office, but certainly if you can be, you should be there. So that was the way that we used to operate prior to COVID. So we've now all been working from home since March. We haven't been able to go back to the office at all. So when we went through this workshop, one of our outcomes for our preferred future is that we designed a new remote working policy that we've now put in place that said, basically that says our preferred future is that when we can leave our homes again, which we hope will be soon, our preferred way of working will be that you work wherever is most comfortable and wherever makes the most sense for whatever you need to do that day. So if you need to come to the office or you want to come to the office, then you can do that. If you want to work from home or you want to work in the cafe down the street, then you can do that too. So that has been a significant change for us because we've developed a completely new policy and a new understanding of how we will operate as a team through that process. So we want to give you an opportunity to think about where you work and what that looked like before COVID. So think back to last year, possibly. How did your organisation work? And then think about some of the pivots that have taken place for your team this year. So what are some of the things that you have had to change, you've been forced to change because of the circumstances that we've been in? And then, so take a couple of minutes to actually think through that process, and I'll be quiet in a minute and allow you to do that. And then think about just one change that you would be happy to share with the group that you would actually like to take forward into your new normal if you were given the opportunity. So something that's come about because of the pivots we've had to make, they actually think, yeah, this would really benefit us if we were able to maintain this, or this makes me think that we should do some aspect in a new way. We're going to give you, was everyone okay with accessing that last group map, or is it better to do this in the chat screen? We'll have a try with the group map if there's
so
people with
jump back
connection
into the Zoom.
issues.
If you're not in the Zoom screen, jump back there because we put another group map up there. So
it's your last one.
That ends in 738.
So this one is just sticky notes. So what we'd like you to do is just spend a few minutes. We don't expect you to start typing straight away. Once you get in there, spend a few minutes thinking about what was your work like before COVID? How have you had to pivot during this year as a result? And then what is one thing that you would really like to make part of your new normal moving forward? And then share that one thing, share that new change with us. If there are people who can't access the group map, I'm going to share that screen with you so that if you can't jump on yourself, you can at least see what other people are putting up if you're still stuck in Zoom. give you one more minute to add an idea if you need more time. Just take a moment to read some of the ideas that are up there. Are there any that you didn't put up there yourself, but you're thinking, yes, I really agree with that. I'd like to make that part of my normal too? One that I really agreed with was someone has put up there that before COVID, like they're doing more exercise now than they were beforehand. For me, I know that's the case because I don't have as much travel time in my life, so I've got more time for other things.
I really like the focus on well-being, and I think that's so important.
I like the one about connecting people to learn more about each other's families and homes, because I know that schools, they've learnt more about kids, parents and pets and brothers and sisters and habits and what they eat for breakfast, and yeah, it's amazing.
Hopefully doing that activity gives you a sense of, if you were able to do this with your team and you had first been through a process where you had really looked at, okay, what's been working really well for us? What's been really challenging for us? What have we learnt over this period of time? And it doesn't have to have anything to do with COVID, actually. Your team could be reflecting on any period of significant change that you've been undergoing. But once you've been through that really in-depth process for an hour and a half prior to this of actually saying, yeah, what is working, what is really challenging, and what do we actually want our future to be like, this becomes a really powerful exercise when we do this in real detail with teams, because what they end up with is this beautiful picture of all of these preferred future moments and stories that people are telling, and it creates this sense of the future that is really inviting and really engaging, and everyone becomes really excited by it. And then after that process, we take people into the phase of ideation of, okay, how are we actually going to get there? You know, what are the, if that's what our preferred future looks like, what are the changes we need to make? What are the projects we need to come up with? What are the discussions that we need to keep having that will actually get us there to that point where it becomes reality?
And it's usually the other tools, if you can come back to your Zoom now, sorry, yeah, if you come back to your Zoom, it's usually at that point where, as an organisation, something that we can't do because we're all from different organisations here, or different education components. So, but as an organisation, then we usually find that when they actually talk about, as Kim said, what do we have to do to get to our preferred future? Usually in that last 2 or 20 minutes, Kim, 25 minutes, etc., of the 2-hour workshop, all these clusters form and groups form of ideas. And really, you know, some of our teams that we've been working with are up to 90, 95 in a session. And mainly teachers and schools, etc., in one school. Usually in that last 20 minutes, you know, you can imagine all the actions that have to happen to get to that preferred future. It turns out those all actions, and what we've seen across all the schools and all the organisations we worked out, you know, with anyone from about 20 to about 90 to 100 people in a session, all those actions or small projects which have to happen to get to that preferred future, most of the time, almost all the time, end up being 3 or 4 projects. So you can imagine 90 people putting down a couple of actions which has to happen to take forward. You know, that's a couple of hundred. But all the time, it falls out to be about 3, 4, 5 projects can be clustered around those. And we know those. We know that, you know, there's some significant ones there that you probably know. You know, there's lots of schools that have things like, you know, some of the common ones are, we need more flexibility in the timetable, you know, and that's a really big thing, you know, and that comes out quite a lot, and a lot of others do as well. Yeah.
So we do really want to be able to share the full workshop with anyone who is interested, and we think there's a few different ways that we can do that. One of the ways we can do that is by training people to actually facilitate the workshop themselves. So we have a session that we go through all the steps in detail. So this workshop tonight is not the actual workshop. We've just tried to give you similar experiences that give you insight into the kind of journey that we take people on. So we can train people where you can then go and run the workshop within your own organisation with your own team. We can also run workshops for if you're a sole innovator and you're working on your own, to actually come together with some other like-minded people to run through the process in that way. But also Derek and I can be available to take people to facilitate the workshop for you. Some people really value that because sometimes it's nice to have an external voice coming in and running through the process rather than people in the team hearing the same voices all the time. So if you are interested in finding out any more information about the workshop or about engaging in the workshop, then we would love for you to get in touch with us.
And we've put a few pages on the website, Reflective Pivot, which I've also put there in the chat screen.
Yeah,
as well.
But if you have any questions or comments, things you'd like to ask us, then we've got a couple minutes left. So over to you.
Any questions, guys?
First of all, I want to give you a big thank you for, from the HundrED community. I think this was very insightful and great to see this kind of working method, and I hope that people joining today will be finding different kind of ways to, you know, use something they have learned today in their daily work.
Thanks, Lassie. Thank you all for joining us. And one last thing we do, and I noticed Brooke Roche had to jump into another meeting, so she's going to miss this screenshot, but that's okay. We do a screenshot. It's part of HundrED. We do a screenshot at the end there. And I do a 3, 2, 1. So if you can put your video on, that'd be good. 3, 2, 1, and that will smile, and I'll take a screenshot. Okay, here, oops, I'll just close that part of the window so we've got even a bigger window. Here we go. Okay, 3, 2, 1, smile. Hang on, we'll do it one more time because Emmanuel just jumped in, I noticed.
Thanks, Jim.
Here we go.
There we go.
Ah, now we got most of the people in here. Okay, 3, 2, 1, smile. I got it. Great, thanks. Thanks
everyone for giving
Thank
us
you
your
for
time
joining
today.
us.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Kim
you.
and Derek. Thank you.
Thanks, Mariah.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you
Thanks
later.
a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Good to
everyone.
see you, Vishal.
Bye, Maria. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye.
Thanks, Matt.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. That's great.
Thanks, Lassie.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Hello. Sorry. Sorry. Hello.
See you, Chabu.
Good afternoon.